For the last 5 days of 25 Days of Christmas full of games, I counted down my picks for the top 10 best games that I reviewed for Gameplay and Review for 2021. And these were some awesome and brilliant games. 3 Legend of Zelda games were on my list, and these were some of the best Legend of Zelda games that I've ever played. Quite a bit of games made it on to the Video Game Chronicles Hall of Fame. And as a result, these games have been respected by me. But now it's time to get to the list where a game does not want to be, but are, because of one reason. They're either bad or they're so awful they're considered one of the worst games of all time. Because this list is my top 10 worst games that I reviewed for Gameplay and Review for 2021. This is the list where bad games go. So let's get started. Now, of course, I gave out 20 red cards this year, but only 10 games made it onto my list. Now, I do want to point out that Metroid Other M and Back to the Future Part 3, 2 games that I gave red cards for in December, did not make my list. The reason why is Back to the Future Part 3 may be hard, but I didn't think the gameplay was that bad. The only problem is certain people won't like it because it's so hard in the beginning that it really isn't for casual gamers. Metroid Other M, I just didn't like, and it's mainly because of certain elements that I really wish would have been better. But I'll talk about what I didn't like about Metroid Other M in my dishonorable mentions, because it's one of my dishonorable mentions. And that's what I'm going to get to right now. Now, since I talked about Metroid Other M, now it's time to tell why this gets a dishonorable mention. And that is because of the story. It looks like Team Ninja decided to put more emphasis into the story than into the gameplay. And as a result, it felt like I was actually doing a reaction and review movie instead of actually doing a gameplay and review. And I know about reaction and review because I used to watch videos that the late Emmer Prevost used to do, and he used to do this series called Reaction and a Review. I felt like I was doing a reaction and a review instead of an actual gameplay, and that was actually kind of ridiculous. The other thing, there were some problems with the gameplay, and it's with this, because you have 2 ways to play. You have 2D, where you're using this as a controller, and then of course you have the pointer where you click on things and you're supposed to destroy stuff and use missiles and whatever not. Even though I thought it was a nice concept at first, I found it to be problematic. But the thing about it is, that's not my dishonorable mention. It was the story drowning out the gameplay. That's why I put it as an honorable mention, and that is why I had no choice but to give the game a red card in the first place. I really wish they would have done better with this game, and that's why I didn't like it. However, there is one game that came out before Metroid Dread that I have not played, and it was the last Metroid game that was released on a console before Metroid Dread. And it's the game I'm doing a gameplay and review on. It is, of course, Metroid Other M, which of course you saw the unboxing for. So you know that I'm doing a gameplay and review on this.
Prove that chip on my shoulder. And I was angry. I felt that if I let my guard down, I would easily be broken. And beyond that, I was scared. But even in the naivete of my youth, I could see in Adam's joking manner how close he felt to me. Adam knows my past, and he knows me better than anyone else.
Why did you have to make the story so long?
Confession time.
It's actually
Because I was so young when I lost both of my parents, there's no question I saw Adam as a father figure. I was so young. Young and naive.
Come on, I want to stop the game, please. I've played enough already.
Exactly what transpired here on the bottle ship is still uncertain. Gather all the information we can, but priority one is to find any survivors and bring them to safety.
This is turning up
Samus,
more of a movie.
you go to the system management room.
Game.
Do everything you...
Feels like I'm watching an episode of... I'm watching a movie.
Remember,
and doing a
everything you
reaction
see
and
will
review
also appear on the
episode
screen.
that used to be done by the late Amber Prevost.
Regarding auxiliary, we currently have no plans to authorize the use of power bombs. As you know, they have the ability to spread a high temperature. I need you to report back.
Now I know
I'll give
why
you your next
people
orders
don't like
then.
this game. Too much
I want
story.
you all to be especially careful as you
and
execute
less
your missions.
gameplay, it looks like.
That's the end of the briefing.
Do I care about the
Been
briefing?
a part of since becoming a freelance bounty hunter. First time since my Federation days that I was
Come on
following
with
the
the
orders of a
story!
commanding officer.
Get to the gameplay
Having received
already so I
mission
can
orders from
quit!
Adam, I felt confused and strangely exhilarated
Come
at the
on
unexpected
here!
turn of events. I responded.
Where?
Understood,
I wanted to stop before the 20-minute mark with this gameplay, but no! We're gonna have story! It felt like I was watching a movie and doing a reaction and review episode. Something that the late Emmer Prevost used to do. My second dishonorable mention, or should I say dishonorable mentions, because this game actually has two dishonorable mentions by me. And of course the game is called Riding Hood. And the first dishonorable mention goes to Brave Rock Games for deciding to put this on the Wii U instead of putting it on the PC. And it's all because of one problem, which I'm going to get to. But the second dishonorable mention goes to GameFAQs for listing this as a game. And as a result, I ended up playing it. And as it turns out, it's not a game at all. It's a storybook where you get two choices and that's it. It's a storybook. It never should have been put on the Wii U, and GameFAQs never should have listed it as a game because it's not a game. Now, I remember last year where I played Hidden Chinese Chess for the NES, and that was listed as the worst game for the NES/Famicom on GameFAQs. I didn't think it was that bad, and I really felt that with multiplayer it would be a lot more fun. Riding Hood, on the other hand, never should have been on the Wii U, or should have been listed on GameFAQs. Never. Because I never would have played it. But I will say, the only real good thing about Riding Hood is that it was only $1. It was only $1, thank God. If I would have had to pay more for this piece of shit, I probably never would have paid it. I probably never would have played it either. But since it was $1, I really felt that it's really only good, in my opinion, as a kid. For a kid, I should say. So that's why it gets two dishonorable mentions. One by GameFAQs, one by Brave Rock Games. It never should have been put on the Wii U in the first place. Amen. This time around, of course, I decided to play a Wii U game, but I decided that I wanted to find the worst game thanks to GameFAQs. However, the question is it really the worst? And the game is called Riding Hood. So I have no idea if this is going to be terrible or not. The only way I'm going to find out is if I actually play it. Alright.
In a great wide forest, full of beautiful trees, in green glades, and thorny thickets, there lived, a long time ago, a woodcutter and his wife, who had only one child, a little girl. Do you go, my dear, and find out how she is, and
I don't think
stay?
this is even a game.
Take her this little
And
pot
I think the
of sweet,
people
fresh
that
bark,
rated this on
and
GameFAQs
these
should
two
be
new
ashamed of
eggs
themselves.
shall be the winner of the game.
Okay.
At this, the wolf began to run as fast as he could, taking the nearest way, and Little Red Riding Hood went by the farthest. And so she was a good while on the way.
I think that's all that it is, guys.
Your grandchild, Little Red Riding Hood, replied the wolf.
This is just the
changing
story
his
Red
voice.
Riding Hood. That's all that it is.
I have brought
And
you a
take-
cake and a pot of butter from Mother. Grandmother, what great arms you have. The better to hug you, my dear. Grandmother, what great ears you have. The better to hear
This
you,
is
my
definitely
dear.
not a game, guys. This is just a story book. And I don't know what the people were thinking of putting this on the Wii U.
Dear.
And I'm going to say this, the people that voted this terrible, give me a break, guys. This shouldn't have been voted at all. I don't know what GameFAQs was thinking by putting this as a game for... It's only $1. And the people that put this on the Wii U weren't thinking straight, guys. The last dishonorable mention goes to Relics. And not because it got a red card. No. It's getting a dishonorable mention because of the loading. It has ridiculous load times. Now, Metroid has bad loading times as well. But the only time the game loads is when you go to a new corridor. But the thing about that is, once it's done loading, all the bosses, all the enemies, and all the power-ups are there. And it doesn't have to load until you go to another corridor. This, on the other hand, every single time you go to another place, load. An enemy that's supposed to be there, load. A power-up that's supposed to be there, load. Transformation to another character, load. That's how this game is. It loads. It takes 5 to 10 seconds to load every single time. It just gets ridiculous. It has ridiculous load times. It definitely has the worst load times of any Famicom Disk System game that I've played. But I will say there is good news. There is an emulator out there in which you can play Famicom Disk System games and the load times are much faster. And that's the Virtua NES. So play Relics on the Virtua NES. Your actual Famicom Disk System will thank you. This game, that is right, it is Relics. And I am not going to be able to pronounce this right, I don't think. Ankoku Yokusai? Or, I can't pronounce it. Here it is.
Relics Ankoku Yousai.
So what does that tell you? What the fuck? Or does it bring me back down or it kills me? So I probably gotta go this way. What the holy cow. Now I get why. It like loads every single time you go to a place. And I hate the load times. The load times on here are much. See, and look at that. You go right to that and it has to load. That's pretty pathetic. That's why it's loading, because you gotta put crap on it. This sucks. This is a game the angry video game nerd should play, honestly. And having load times that are crappy and whatever not. In programming the game, they didn't do such a good job. Where you have to wait for characters or enemies or whatever not to load. And at certain times, surprisingly enough, it gets bad results. And certain glitches happen as a result. Now before I get to my countdown, I just want to let you all know that this video will only count numbers 10 to 6. And the next 5 days will, of course, be my top 5 worst. And, of course, I'm going to be doing gameplays of them. But they're not going to get separate gameplay videos. No. They're going to get gameplays on the same video where I reveal which game gets that particular number. And that's how I'm going to do it. It's going to be revealed, then I'm going to do the gameplay, and then I'm going to virtually destroy the game. Now this year there wasn't really much in terms of worst games, but I'm going to at least destroy virtually 5 games. I'm not going to physically destroy them, because the thing about it is I have a couple of those games. I'm going to keep those in my collection, but I'm going to virtually destroy them, meaning they're not going to be actually destroyed, but they're going to be virtually destroyed. And I'm only going to do that to the top 5 this year, because last year I actually did it to 7 games. There really wasn't much in terms of worst games this year like I did last year. Last year was really bad when it comes to games, but this year, no. So now I let you all know what I'm going to be doing, and now it's time to reveal number 10. Now this one game that I'm going to play, of course I know that Chris from Brooklyn actually played this when he used to do 4 o'clock game. The game that I'm talking about is World Games for the NES. I have never played this. I think the biggest problem is the controls. See, that's really the biggest problem right there. You have to have the manual at least. The World Games. That kind of sucks. See, this one's terrible too. There's no way for me to play that. That sucked. Oh my god. Yeah, the controls suck. Oh, the controls suck on this one too. Controls suck on this one. Whee! Right into it, because the controls suck. I'm glad I called myself suck. Well, now I'm getting somewhere. This is ridiculous. Come on. Oh, wow, is this a button masher? You son of a... I'm done. Oh, that... Oh my god, that's terrible. That is terrible. I hate that game. Oh, was that killer on my arm. This game sucks. Chris is so far right. This game sucks. I don't like this so far. Screw this. Throw it. Get it over with. This is awful. I just do the thing anyway. Screw that. Most of the controls with most of the events sucked, and the gameplay kind of sucked. So yes, I'm gonna jump down that bandwagon with Chris, and I'm gonna give, if he was giving these things, he'd be giving this game a red card, and that's what I'm gonna give it. World Games was my number 10 because I just didn't like some of the mini games that it had. Not all mini games are bad, but there were quite a bit of mini games that I really didn't like. And this was just one of the games that I just didn't like at all, mainly. But that didn't mean that I really thought it was the worst game. That's the main reason why it didn't rank high on my list, because I didn't feel it was that bad to be put higher on my list. I just really wish that it would have been better, that's all. I really wish that some of the mini games that were included were better. Some games were fine, other games were not. So that's my opinion about World Games and why I put it on my top 10 as number 10. Why not do a Famicom Disk System game, since it is the 35th anniversary of the Famicom Disk System? And this game is called Night Lore, and I don't know much about it and whatever not. I may have seen a screenshot from the book that I bought. Run in there. What the heck? Is that what Night Lore is? He transformed into a werewolf? I don't know what happened there. He transformed into a werewolf. This is ridiculous. What am I supposed to do in this game? I can put like a platform down. I really should have did this with the holiday special. Did you transform into a werewolf? I'm kind of surprised. This is a pretty weird game. And I hit the wrong button. Now my game's over. See, I really don't get this game at all. This game looks stupid. I don't like the music, by the way. Okay, let's try what they say. Sucks that we have to use a guide for this sucker. Okay, now I get it. Alright. So I have to go to that sucker, put in the middle, and... Okay, now. It still sucks. It really does. This game sucks. At least I figured it out. It was thanks to that one walkthrough. That walkthrough helped me. But still, it still sucks. You have to get the items and make sure that you're not that in order to beat the game, or beat this level, I should say. That's weird. I can't recommend the Famicom Disk System version of this game. I found out that this is a port, and unfortunately this port sucked. So Night Lore gets a red card. And that's been my review of Night Lore. Well, I didn't expect this game to be on my list, but it ended up happening because the last games that I reviewed actually weren't really bad games at all. And some games weren't really in the worst column, that I really thought they were going to be. So Night Lore ended up being number 9 as a result. And that's just because I didn't like the gameplay at all. And I didn't like how things were. It's playable. I will say that it's playable, and the graphics are okay at best. But the thing about it is, I didn't like the music, and I really felt, and I think it was a port. I'm not sure if it was a port, but I just didn't care for it at all. It really felt like it really was a poor showing by Jellicoe. I really wish they could have done better. I'm not sure if they made this game, but they did publish it, and I really wish that Night Lore would have been a better game. This I have not seen a screenshot for. I haven't seen video of. I'm going in this game completely blind. And this game is, of course, called Fire Rock. And I don't know what this game is going to be, or how it's going to be, or whatever not. Man, oh man, this is awful. So far, I don't really care for this game. So far, the music isn't spectacular. The music isn't all that great. And I'm not really caring. He's slippery. Look at that. Look how ridiculous that is. And that rock looks like a you-know-what. Ridiculous. And I'm going right through that rock. Come on. Come on. It's not letting me go through the... Thank you, finally. Son of a bitch. See, look at that. You can even get hit by them. Even when you're climbing up, it's ridiculous. Oh, shit. Come on. It wasn't so slippery. I'd probably appreciate it. Fire Rock just clumsy. There I go. Suck, suck, suck. That's how bad this game is. See, look at that. I just lost a life right there. He's slippery. He's too slippery. That's the biggest problem. He's like Kid Cool. Look how slippery he is. Look how slippery my character is. Look at that. He bounces around like he's like on thin ice. Look at that. That's what kills the game. That's the biggest... Look at that. I just died right there. See, it breaks the game. That breaks the game for me. I'm done. I am done with this game. This was terrible. Fire Rock. More like fire up your ass. Yep. I actually had this on my list for a reason. It is number 8, and yes, it deserves to be on this list. And that, of course, is Fire Rock, or Fire Up Your Ass. Unfortunately, this was a huge disappointment. I didn't like how the gameplay was at all. The graphics were okay, but the gameplay was awful. And that's what killed the game for me. I really didn't like it at all. I didn't like how your character was so slippery. I didn't like how the controls worked. And I really didn't like the gameplay at all. So that's the biggest reason why Fire Rock was on my list, because of how bad the gameplay was. The graphics were fine. It just, the gameplay was terrible. And that's the main reason why I put Fire Rock, also known as Fire Up Your Ass, on my list. And that's how I pronounced it at the it was supposed to go in at the end of my video, but I forgot all about it, so I put it as a separate video. But that was my original ending, where I said, fire rock, more like fire up your ass. And there's a reason why I did that, because I didn't really like the game hardly at all. And I figured I'd do another Olympic summer game for you guys. This was released around the time of the Atlanta Games back in 1996. And the game I'm talking about is Olympic Summer Games. And I have no idea how this game is going to be. Oh no. Tier text. Okay, the animation on that's pretty cool. But come on, tier text? I heard a lot of bad things about tier text. Especially by GameSack. Man, oh man. Oh, this is clumsy. I don't even know how to do this. Man, oh man, and no gold, no silver, no bronze. I don't know how to play this. I don't. So far, I think this is the worst Olympic game thing that I've ever played. You don't know how to stick and play this. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I think this is the most broken game out of all of them. Oh, come on now. I think this is more broken than the World Games is. Now I know why tier text sucks. See, the problem is you don't know what to do. You need the manual. See, that's the problem. It's still terrible. I have to press A and B repeatedly and then press up for that high thing. That was ridiculous. Oh, come on! I'm not trying to step out. Oh, these controls are awful. Oh, now it lets me. Stupid son. I just think about giving up on this game because the thing about it is, this is crazy and this is really ridiculous, and it really is. Even with the manual, I'm having trouble. Tiertex, of course, made this game, and of course they had to mess this up too. Wow, oh wow. Where do I start with Olympic Summer Games Atlanta 1996? Well, it's easy. Tiertex made this game. That's the main reason why it sucked. The controls sucked. Even though the graphics were good, the graphics was the only good thing about the game. The gameplay was the biggest problem. It sucked big time because Tiertex doesn't know how to make a good game. And I've heard a lot of bad things about Tiertex. And as a result, I had to put Olympic Summer Games Atlanta 1996 on my list. I was quite surprised that the Super Nintendo version was as bad as the Sega Genesis version. But the only thing I did like was the option to pick the event that you wanted. That was the only good thing about it. Besides that, I have nothing much to say about it except for that. The thing about it is, it was just a terrible, terrible Olympic game on a 16-bit console. And no question about it, this was one of the worst Olympic video games that I've ever played. I've played certain games in this particular franchise, but never this one. Now it's time to get to a Back to the Future game that I've never played, and that is for the NES, and it's called Back to the Future Part 2 and 3. And what they basically did with this game is put 2 and 3 together. What the heck? I don't know what that bird is, but it killed me. Son of a... I guess you have to jump on those. You have no choice. I hate those platforms. Oh, so you can't be on them when you're... Oh, if that's an enemy, Come on, that's bull. Oh, fuck you. I'd rather just start all over again from the beginning. Do you lose everything? Yes, you do. Fuck you. So you have to start all over. You fucking cunt. So you lose everything. Oh! You fuck! So you die if you run right into those things. Like you be precise. So you don't die. It's bullshit. There are some bullshit moments in this game like that. That fucking asshole. There that goes. Bye bye. Yeah, it says fuck you. You're not getting it. Fuck you, you fucking snake. You'll most likely need a guide, and it's ridiculous. Yeah, that's how bad this is. You need a guide for it. Fuck. I didn't even try to hit him, and guess what? It counted as a life lost. That's bullshit. Come on. I don't know what to do and where to go. That's the problem. So you have to get the... Without hit... Oh, you lose a life? You jerk! You little... I didn't even notice that I lose a life. Oh, fuck you. Ugh. Son of a... What's the point of that if I die and if I make one mistake? That's bullshit. This is the worst on the NES that I've played of a Back to the Future game. Is that as worse as Back to the Future Part 2? Not quite, but it is pretty close. Alright, now to get to the game that almost made my top 5. And the only reason why I did it is because of the other games that came later. And that's Back to the Future Part 2 and 3. A bad game, but not one of the worst. Because the thing about it is, I played a horrible Back to the Future game. And that was back in 2019. I reviewed Back to the Future Part 2 for the Sega Master System, and that was way worse than Back to the Future Part 2 and 3, or even Back to the Future Part 3 for that matter for the Sega Genesis. Back to the Future Part 2 and 3, however, is the second worst Back to the Future game that I've ever played. It's just as bad as Back to the Future Part 2 for the Sega Master System, but I really feel that Back to the Future Part 2 and 3 is better than Back to the Future Part 2 for the Sega Master System. No question about it. I at least could play the game, unlike Back to the Future Part 2, where I kept on dying all the time. Where Back to the Future Part 2 and 3 at least gives you chances. That's the one big plus with Back to the Future Part 2 and 3. At least it gives you a shot. At least it gives you something. Back to the Future Part 2 for the Sega Master System gave you nothing. But Back to the Future Part 2 and 3 is still a bad game, and it still is on my list for that particular reason. It just doesn't play well. It does give you a chance, but that is it. And that's why it's number 6, and there are just other bad games that, of course, made it higher on my list that Back to the Future Part 2 and 3 didn't. And that's the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes certain games are not really the worst games. Back to the Future Part 2 and 3 may be a terrible game, but the thing about it is, it's not one of the worst games in my opinion. So those were my picks from 10 to 6. And if you want to check out all of the reviews that I did for these games, including my dishonorable mentions, links will be down below in the description box. So that way, if you want to check out a particular review, you can do so. And I'm going to be doing that for the next 5 games as well. So you'll be able to see all of the gameplay and review episodes that I've done for those particular games. And of course, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and like I said, I'm only going to destroy virtually the top 5 worst games. It will start tomorrow with number 5, and it will be on the 27th, and I will be premiering that at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And my top 5 will go into December 31st. So I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for number 5. If you like this video, please subscribe and click on the notification bell for new videos. Stay safe and stay awesome, and happy gaming.